Start with this: the United States is the biggest food exporter on Earth. We grow enough corn and soy to choke the planet. Yet the number 2 exporter, the country that beats Germany, Brazil, France, China, everybody, is a nation roughly the size of Maryland, half of which is below sea level and technically shouldn't even exist. That country is the Netherlands, and it's the undisputed farm of Europe. In 2024, the Dutch exported $129 billion worth of agricultural products. That's more food by value than the entire continent of South America combined. They ship out 2/3 of all the fresh vegetables that land in Germany. They keep the UK in tomatoes even after Brexit. And when you buy roses at Whole Foods the week before Valentine's Day, there's a 60% chance they flew out of Amsterdam the day before. How does a country with almost no arable land pull this off? Simple answer: they stopped farming like it's 1850 and started farming like it's 2050. First, greenhouses. The Dutch have covered more than 25,000 acres of their country in glass. Picture an area half the size of Chicago, all under roof. These aren't your grandma's backyard hotboxes. These are climate-controlled skyscrapers for plants. Inside one of these facilities, a single acre grows as many tomatoes as 70 acres of open field farming in California or Spain. 1 acre, 70 times the yield. They pump in extra CO2 captured from nearby factories. They bathe the plants in custom spectrum LED lights that change color depending on what the crop wants that week, and they water with drip lines that deliver nutrients measured in parts per billion. Sensors in the soil talk to satellites that talk to AI that decides exactly how much water a tomato plant in row 47 needs at 3:17 p.m. on a cloudy Tuesday. Waste is basically zero. 95% of the water gets recycled in closed loops. The epicenter is a region called Westland, south of The Hague. From the air it looks like the world's biggest mirror. Those glass roofs reflect so much light you can see them from space. Inside, robots on rails pick strawberries at 2 meters per second, drones hunt for the first signs of powdery mildew, and bumblebees, yes, they ship in boxes of live bumblebees, are the preferred pollinators because they work cheaper than machines and don't unionize. The numbers are stupid. One medium-sized Dutch greenhouse ships 2 million pounds of tomatoes a year. That's 1,000 tons from a plot of land smaller than a Walmart parking lot. The world record for tomato yield is held by a Dutch grower, 560 tons per acre per year. The average US field grower is happy with 18 tons. Flowers are even crazier. The Netherlands controls half the global trade in cut flowers and ornamental plants. Every day, 6,000 refrigerated trucks and 747 freighters leave for 140 countries carrying tulips, lilies, and orchids that were still in the ground 24 hours earlier. The flower auction building in Aalsmeer is the size of 150 football fields and moves 20 million flowers before most of us finish breakfast. This didn't happen by accident. Go back to 1944-45. The Hunger Winter. Nazi occupation, canals frozen, no food. 20,000 Dutch civilians starved to death in 6 months. When liberation came, the country made a promise: never again. They poured money into agricultural research like it was the Manhattan Project for carrots. The result was Wageningen University, today ranked number 1 in the world for agriculture and food science. They call the surrounding region Food Valley the Silicon Valley of eating. 4,000 agri-tech companies, startups working on vertical farming, gene-edited crops, lab-grown protein, and AI that can smell plant stress before the plant knows it's stressed. The government, the university, and private companies operate in a triple helix model. If a grower has a problem, researchers show up the next day with a prototype robot. If the prototype works, it's in commercial use within 2 years. That speed is why Dutch cucumber growers use zero chemical pesticides. They release predatory mites that eat the bad bugs. Sounds cute until you realize those mites save the industry hundreds of millions in chemicals. Logistics seal the deal. The port of Rotterdam is Europe's largest, and Schiphol Airport is 10 minutes away. A crate of bell peppers can leave the greenhouse at dawn, clear customs by lunch, and be on a shelf in London, Berlin, or New York the next morning. That speed is why Dutch produce commands premium prices even when it travels farther. And yes, there's a dark side. These high-tech farms burn a ton of energy, historically a lot of Russian natural gas. When Putin turned off the tap in 2022, Dutch greenhouse lights were literally keeping Europe fed while energy bills went through the roof. Many growers lost money for 2 straight seasons. Then there's the nitrogen crisis. Dutch livestock farming, especially dairy and pigs, produces way too much nitrogen runoff. In 2019, courts ruled the government had to cut emissions drastically, threatening to shut down thousands of farms. Tractor protests blocked highways for weeks in 2022 and 2023. The government offered buyouts worth hundreds of thousands of euros per farm, but a lot of farmers see it as the end of a way of life. Meanwhile, the big greenhouse players are switching to geothermal energy, drilling 2 miles deep for heat, and covering the glass roofs with solar panels. By 2030 the sector claims it will be energy neutral. We'll see. Labor is another pressure point. Picking tomatoes at that insane density still needs human hands for some tasks. Tens of thousands of Eastern Europeans and Latin Americans work the greenhouses, often in tough seasonal conditions. Housing shortages in Westland are brutal. Bottom line, the Netherlands proves you don't need endless acres of prairie to dominate global agriculture. You need knowledge, capital, and a willingness to treat farming like software, constant updates, zero sentimentality for the old ways. The US has 10 times the land and still gets beaten on export value per acre by a country that had to steal half its farmland from the ocean. That's humbling. Some American growers are paying attention. Companies in Arizona, Texas, and Appalachia are building Dutch-style greenhouses right now. The technology is exportable. The real question is whether the United States, or any big land-rich country, has the political will to copy a system that works because government, science, and business refuse to stay in their lanes. The Dutch didn't get rich growing more dirt. They got rich growing smarter. Next time you bite into a perfect greenhouse tomato in January, remember, it probably came from a high-tech factory in a country that shouldn't even be above water, built by people who decided hunger only wins if you let it. That's the real crop the Netherlands exports, the idea that limits are negotiable if you're stubborn enough and smart enough to rewrite the rules. Hit that like button if America needs to steal some Dutch homework, subscribe for more stories that blow your mind, and I'll see you in the next one.